The Fort Riley Hauntings, written by Lisedor. When I was in Kansas, I worked at a local community hospital. While I had my own few small encounters, they don't compare to reliable sources that I've worked with during my enlistment there. This is one of the oldest Army posts. Literature of multiple known hauntings, particularly with officers' housing and even named addresses, are available for purchase or even readily available on Google. It was during my time there that I've heard the most unsettling stories of my life. From one of our OBGYN surgeons, we found out that she had moved from her home on post to a house off post with her spouse and 2 toddlers. She simply stated that her home was haunted. Upon begging to know more, she gave in and gave 2 accounts that led to their decision to promptly move. One day, the family returned to their home from grocery shopping to find every cupboard door and drawer wide ajar in the kitchen. They hadn't left the home that way. This in itself made them uneasy, but it wasn't enough to scare them away. On a second occasion, they had company one evening in their 2-story house. They were entertaining downstairs while the 2 small children, both of whom were under 3, slept upstairs. Someone heard noises coming from upstairs, so one of the adults went to check on the children. Their first thought was that they were awake and playing. Upon reaching the top of the stairs, they called for everyone to come and have a look. All obliged. What they found had everyone's blood running cold. Right in the middle of the hall was a random mountain of all of their bedding, duvet and pillow covers, sheets, blankets, and comforters. The pile reached almost to the ceiling. The children were sound asleep in their beds, and considering the height of the blanket tower, these very small kids could never have accomplished doing this. That was the nail in the coffin that made them move out as quickly as they could. From a doctor on the other end of the hospital, I heard of a creepy incident of a pilot friend who happened to be housed in either the same home as the surgeon or one of the other 5 homes that were next to each other near an airfield. He came down the stairs into his kitchen one morning to find every single one of his canned good foods neatly lined next to each other on the counter. Every single one of them opened. I don't recall whether he left or stayed. This same gentleman also told me about his ghost cat. Their beloved family cat had died, but was still seen in their home by friends and relatives on occasion, as clear as day. Another story from a nurse who once lived in one of the famously haunted Fort Riley homes experienced numerous encounters. It wasn't until they became malicious that they too moved. While they didn't experience what one reads about, what usually happens in that particular house, there was an incident of them returning home from a short getaway to find the police at their residence. Puzzled, they inquired about why they were there. The MPs informed them that a 911 call had been placed from their home. Alarmed, they exclaimed that they'd been gone for the weekend and had just now arrived. Expecting an intruder, the police searched and investigated the premises. They later gave an all clear, but couldn't explain the call they'd received. On 2 other occasions, her husband felt a shove on his back at the top of the stairs with no one behind him. This also happened to their adolescent son. He was actually slightly injured from the shove, and that's when they decided to leave. Like I said earlier, my own accounts don't compare, but we had frequent 24-hour in-house call duty. We'd be able to sleep on a couch in the break room when all of our duties were done, but we had to be there for emergencies. One night I was laying with my back to the room, facing the back of the couch/wall. Our break room door stayed open, but the door leading from the patient holding area to the hallway of the break room is heavy and opens audibly. Even in a deep sleep, the sound of that door opening is enough to wake you up, and it shuts loudly on its own too. I wake up to the feeling of a finger poking on my back. I was frozen. I didn't turn around, and I just ignored it with my eyes closed until I fell back asleep. I didn't want to see anything. One other night, I was watching a movie in the break room when I heard the door open. Nothing unusual. Nurses from the ward, surgeons, anesthesiologists could come in at any time, as the dressing rooms were connected to the break room. But I heard no footsteps, just the door swing open and then close again. And I was too chicken to look. I stayed put, convinced a ghost just came in or went out. I didn't care to know. It was a spooky place to be late at night all alone. I have a few more good ones that I've heard at Fort Riley. It'll get really interesting when I write about my experiences in South Carolina. So stay tuned.